Thank you. We're going to call the meeting to order. Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4 through 10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising such notice in the Home News Tribune, the Asbury Park Press, the Board Office, the schools, and on Cablevision Channel 118 and Verizon Fios Channel 24, and by filing such notice with the Township Clerk. The meeting was scheduled for Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. The board will take formal action on payment of bills and other agenda items. Mr. Rydell?
The Old Bridge Township Board of Education acknowledges that the law of this state establishes that members of the public, including members of the board, have the right to record public board meetings using audio recording devices, provided that the act of recording does not interfere with the business of this public board meeting. Therefore, the board makes it known that any such recording is to be considered the private recording of the individual and in no manner represents the official record of this board. The board therefore takes no responsibility for such private recording and completely disavows any future use.
Roll call, please.
Dunn.
Here.
Francisco.
Here.
Giordano.
Here.
Jodry.
Here.
Mazzone.
Here.
Slade.
Here.
Solikowski.
Here.
Venkatason is on the way, and Dantuno.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Can we all stand for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next week we will have a moment of silence. Is there anyone that would like to read the ethics corner next?
I'll read it.
Okay, Ms. Mazzone, thank you.
Ooh.
I'd like to make a motion before we do minutes to take finance item number 3 and move that to the last item of the evening to save the public's time. We're going to go into executive session before discussing the application, and my thought was if it's going to be a quick executive session, we'll let the studio teacher know, and that we're going to come back. If it's going to be long, we'll let everyone know, hey, it's going to be a long night. We're going to come back at a later time to decide on that part. So that was my goal with putting it at the end. If I could have a second.
I'll second.
It's not actually a motion, just board consensus on that.
All right.
okay.
Is there any objection
Nope.
with moving that to the end?
Nope.
Okay.
No objection, Madam President.
That's just gonna be number 3.
Just number 3. Okay.
Onto finance, right?
Yes.
Oh, my mic.
So page 7. Okay. Can I have a motion for the approval of minutes?
Ms. Owen, motion.
Dunn will second, Madam President.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Dunn.
Yes.
Francisco.
Yes.
Giordano.
Yes.
Jodry.
Yes.
Mazzone.
Yes.
Slade.
Yes.
Solikowski.
Yes.
Venkatason.
Yes.
Dantuno.
Yes.
Resolution 1 for approval of minutes passes.
Thank you. We'll have a student report next week. Any questions on recognition for next week? Or 2 weeks? Next week we're not here.
I'll cover the retirements next week.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any superintendent's report this week?
Just a brief discussion. Obviously, it's 2 items that usually bring public interest. We have a discussion. There's no action on the calendar selection tonight. Just if people from the public wanted to review the calendars, bring any thoughts about the calendars that as presented to the board this evening, they could do so during either public hearing. And obviously, the item that was moved, does the board want me to say anything about it, or just so the public knows what we're talking about? The item that was moved?
I'd be open about it.
Okay. So it has been no, secret that this board has been subject to S2 defunding since going back to 2018, and in doing so, the board has had to use many of its reserves just to keep programs afloat as we've lost district funding. So we come to a year when costs are rising astronomically across many facets, from healthcare to salaries, transportation costs, utilities costs, and everything. And just those fixed costs are up $12 million from previous years. In addition to the other expenses, brings us to about a $17.5 to $18 million deficit that we're trying to adjust. But we, as a board, and I think the board doesn't always agree with me, but I think as a board, we all feel the state has played a heavy hand in this because, you know, removing state aid from us over the course of that time has only come like to the point where it has put the district in a financial peril. And mine and other superintendents been in other situations. When I testify before the state, I always say that you've put us at a financial cliff, and we're at that cliff. You know, you've removed all our funds, and you've put us in a place where as costs are rising, you've capped us at a 2% revenue that doesn't allow us to reach the funds necessary to make ends meet when you have such exceeding costs. So one of the things we did was we looked to the state to help adjust the problem they've created and look to a loan. And many districts across the state who are in similar situations have gotten a loan from the state. We went through the process. We had a meeting in my conference room with the county commissioner, the county superintendent, and to go over our budget presentation with him. He received it, identified, agreed that there's a revenue problem, that we have lost our reserves in past years, keeping the district going with all the programs that we have. Even though we've gone through years when we've done some really severe belt tightening and reduced staffing and reducing electives and areas in which there's accessibility to programs, even though not removing those programs. And we even submitted a not a temporary budget, it's called a tentative budget, not temporary, and it was approved with the application for a loan in it. It wasn't until late last week, Friday or so, that they said, well, you have to resubmit the budget because we're not in the business of giving out loans. And said, but there is a way in which the state seems to always do this. They always come up with this fourth quarter option to put it back on boards of education and put you in these boards. And I said last year is not a great year to be a board member because the state has created a position of financial peril for the community of Old Bridge, and they gave a one-shot ability to address it last year, putting on the backs of board members to make very difficult decisions. Well, I think this year they even outdid themselves and made an even bigger issue, and the state has determined that we are under adequacy. I was looking for another word. Under adequacy by $30 million, meaning that the Old Bridge taxpayers are under supporting the local district board of education by $30 million. And through the reserves that they've taken away, they say, well, we'll give you one more opportunity to fix that, and allowing states to have districts to go into this incentive program. And again, this just came out like the end of last week, and they give a deadline that you just to be considered for this program, not to say you're going to increase your local tax levy beyond the allowable allotments that you have, not to say you're going to go above the 2% and the adjustables that you can put in there, but just even to be considered for the application process, you have to do it by the 14th to have that as an option in May. So by 14th of April, we just gave this information on basically the end of last week. You had to determine at your meeting this week if you want to consider this for an option. So the board has that resolution before them. The hard part is that, you know, by not passing the resolution, it takes that option off the table in the future. It even takes it off for like hybrid options. Like if you wanted to say, well, we will make $3 million in cuts, but we will go up $14 million to adjust the shortfall. You couldn't do that anymore because of you didn't apply for the option. So very difficult place, and like I said, and like I testified with the state seems to find ways to take money but never really give solutions to the local boards of education and taxpayers that live up to the Constitution. The Constitution of the state of New Jersey says that every district has to provide a thorough and effective education to the local students. This cuts that would be deemed necessary to make a $17 million shortfall, not even in the realm of being thorough and efficient. It wouldn't bring us in even in the ballpark of what I would even support to being a thorough and efficient education. It would be a disgrace to any school district to have to deal with that level of fiscal cliff that the state has placed us in. So that kind of gives a summary of where that is with that resolution and the calendar. And, you know, if there's any questions, I can address them, or Mr. Wydell or any board members wants to address them as well going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Progress towards goals. I know there's a few committees that haven't met yet this calendar year, so if we can try and get some calendar dates on for our meeting in 2 weeks, we can give the public some notice. That would be great.
Madam President,
Yep.
I'm sorry, Buildings and Grounds and Transportation, I know that Mr. Wydell's had a lot of work he's been doing, and we're just waiting at the appropriate time to have a Building, Grounds and Transportation and Technology committee meeting based upon his availability.
Yeah, my only request is for any chair, please just email me some potential dates that you have. You know, as I was going through on minutes, then I saw, forgot to do this meeting, and while we have been busy, just if you have some dates where you want me to explore, just please email me so I have them in writing, besides the minutes that I'm scribbling here. Thank you.
Is there any correspondence for this week?
Correspondence? We do have one, actually, yes.
Go for it.
Also, for the board, just for the record, some of the correspondence, if you do get correspondence and in the email you don't see my name on it, just please remind citizens that are looking, if they want it read at the board meeting, it needs to come to me as well. So please just send it to my way. If you send it to the board, that's fine and dandy, but if you have the intention of it being read by me, I need to be included, and there should be an express statement on there saying, please have this read at the board meeting. So there was a correspondence that came through today. It went to the board, and then the individual did actually call and say, I think I forgot to include Mr. Wydell. So I did get it, and it was a request to be read, and I will read it as such now. All right. It is from Nadia Awad, or Nadia Awad. So excuse my pronunciation, whatever one is correct. Good afternoon. My name is Nadia Awad, and I am a resident of Old Bridge Township. I see that there is a Board of Education meeting scheduled for this evening, but unfortunately I will not be able to attend due to other obligations. I am asking that this letter be read aloud at tonight's meeting for all those in attendance to hear. I am asking that our district adopt Eid as a day off in the academic calendar. This is a necessary accommodation that will help ensure that Muslim students and staff do not face academic and professional disadvantages for missing school days to meet their religious obligations. I have been a longtime resident of Old Bridge when my family moved here when I was at the tender age of 1 year old. I have gone through the OBPS system, McDivitt, Sandberg, and OBHS, and my education was fantastic and prepared me very well for my professional career and gaining essential life skills. However, I was always one of the several students each year that had to be absent from school to observe these two holidays when they occurred during the academic school year. As years went on, being one of the several students gradually led to being one of the many students in the district, and Old Bridge now boasts a large Muslim population that observes these holidays. Now I have a son who is a proud student in kindergarten within OBPS, and I do hope to see him blossom as a student while being able to observe these two holidays on an annual basis without needing to miss any days of school. Several townships locally have these two holidays off, namely East Brunswick, Edison, Homedale, Marlborough, Monroe, North Brunswick, Piscataway, and Sayreville/Perlin. As you may know, American Muslims make up more than 3.5% of the state of New Jersey, and I'm sure we have a significant number of Muslim students who proudly attend the schools within Old Bridge Township. I noted that Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha were proposed holidays to formally be recognized on one of the draft calendars for the 26-27 academic year. These other two draft calendars list these days as proposed half-days. This would not be helpful to those of us who observe the holiday, as most of our festivities occur in the morning, and our children would have to be excused from school to observe the holiday in any event. By recognizing and including Eid on the Old Bridge District calendar as a day off, our schools can inspire conversations among students and staff that play a crucial role in dispelling anti-Muslim bigotry. I am hopeful that the Old Bridge Township Board of Education will recognize Eid and close schools in observance. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Nadia Awad.
Thank you.
That concludes correspondence.
Thank you. We'll have special committee reports. At this point, we'll have hearing of the residents on any agenda item.
Andrew Lewis, OBEA. As you know, we're facing a serious budget deficit. Last year, we thought we were in a dire situation, facing cuts so deep that they threaten to alter the future of our district for a generation. Now, less than a year later, we find ourselves in an even worse position. For 8 years, we've endured relentless, punishing budget cuts. Every year, we're told to adjust, to do more with less, to tighten our belts just a little bit further. We've been patient, we've been flexible, but despite our best efforts, here we still are, struggling. S2's over, and the financial relief that we so desperately hoped for has not arrived. Things are not getting better, they're getting worse. We're 2.5 months from the end of the school year, we're $17 million in the hole, and our community is waiting with anxiety, wondering what will be left of our schools when the budget is presented to the public. Despite years of cuts, we continue to face impossible choices. We've eliminated staff at every level, administrators, teachers, ESPs. We've closed a school, we've sold off property, and still these challenges persist. Tonight you have an opportunity. We can stop the bleeding, and we can take the first real step towards ending this cycle of crisis. By approving the application for tax incentive aid, we can bring millions of dollars in urgently needed relief to our district. Let me be clear. The aid is not a temporary bandage. It's a tool for long-term sustainability. It gives us breathing room to restore vital services, to retain staff, and to invest in programs that support our students, not just for next year, but for years to come. This is an opportunity to invest in the success of the Old Bridge Township Public Schools. This funding is designed to help districts like ours who have suffered most under the weight of the funding cuts and shifting state formulas. It's a chance to reset, rebuild, and reinvest. We cannot keep cutting our way out of crisis. Every time we take something away, a position, a program, a school itself, we compromise the quality of education that we provide. If we don't take a serious approach to addressing the crisis, we'll find ourselves in the same position next year and the year after that, making decisions that only dig the hole deeper. This isn't just about balancing a budget. It's about taking a hard look at our district to determine the best path forward. It's about making strategic, sustainable decisions rather than waiting for another crisis to force our hand. This moment is not about blame. It's not about politics. It's about survival. It's about doing right by our students, our educators, and our community. Let us not wait for another crisis to force our hand. Let us choose action. Choose strategy. Choose sustainability. I urge the board to take the necessary steps this evening. Approve the application. Signal to our community that we're not going to accept a future built on endless cuts. That we're ready to move forward, not out of desperation, but out of determination. Because our students deserve stability. Our educators deserve support. And our community deserves schools that they can believe in. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Okay, we're going to close the mic. Thank you. There's nothing on policy. Any discussion on curriculum and professional development? Okay. Can I have a motion for finances item 1 and 2
Ms. Owen, motion.
I had
Jojo,
one
second.
question, sorry.
on curriculum or on finance?
No, on the curriculum.
Okay.
I see your, the school administration is traveling to the convention, right? The second item.
Mhm.
How about planning for the board? I do know that some
That's-
of the board members
I think
went.
that's included.
Oh,
that's
this
part of the-
inclusive of it?
That's part of the registration.
Oh, okay.
There is another section where the board is approved, actually. So this just gets the planning, the board and the administration team.
Okay, okay. So it's a separate section for the board members?
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I believe it's under board business at the end, yeah.
Any more discussion on curriculum and professional development? Okay, so looking for a second on finance item 1 and 2.
We're actually going to administratively remove number 2. I've been working with the township. There
Okay.
might be something we add or revise to this.
Okay.
I spoke to Anahita, and she was out until today, so she's going to come back and review it. And then if we are amendable on the revision, we will put it on for action at the end of the month here.
Okay.
And then they will approve in May. So I am going to administratively remove number 2 for now for potential revisions.
Jen, I second it.
All right, thank you.
Who was the first?
Mazzone?
Okay.
Any discussion on item number 1 of finance? Roll call, please.
All right. Finance resolution number 1, we have Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Solokowski,
Yes.
Venkatason,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Francisco,
Yes.
Giordano,
Yes.
and Dantuno.
Yes.
Resolution 1 for finance passes.
Thank you. Any questions or discussions on items number 4 through 14 on finance? Okay. There's nothing for athletics. Any discussion on non-certificated personnel office item number 1? Okay. Non-certificated personnel operational items 1 through 4. Any discussion? Okay. Non-certificated personnel other items 1 through 5. Okay. Can I have a motion for item number 1 and 2 under certificated personnel?
Giordano motion.
Dunn will
Mazzone.
second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Certificated personnel 1 and 2. Dunn,
Yes.
Francisco,
Yes.
Giordano,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Solokowski,
Yes.
Venkatason,
Yes.
Dantuno.
Yes.
Resolution 1 and 2 for certificated personnel passes.
Any discussion on items number 3 through 15? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to non-certificated personnel transportation, item 1 through 3. Any discussion? Okay, transportation, items 1 through 4. Any discussion? Okay. Can I have a motion for items number 1 and 2 under supplies, equipment, and services?
Mazzone motion.
Jojo second.
Giordano,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Solokowski,
Yes.
Venkatason,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Francisco,
Yes.
Dantuno.
Yes.
Resolution 1 and 2 for supplies, equipment, and services passes.
Any discussion on items 3 through 18? Okay, thank you. Okay. Any discussion on miscellaneous items 1 through 5? Okay. For board secretary and board business, can I have a motion for item number 1?
Jojo
Mazzone.
move it.
Francisco will second.
Okay. Any discussion? I was going to bring up that we want to thank part of the Easter Monday came from a 3rd grade requesting and advocating for that Easter Monday off. So I want to give kudos to that class. Marjorie, which class was that?
That was Mrs. Powell's class at Shepherd School. I went there to read for Read Across America. And before I started reading, they wanted to know if I knew Mr. Cittadino. So I said
No,
I
we don't
did.
know.
And they asked me if I could relay a message and asked that since they counted the snow days, they counted the school days, and they said that since we appeared to have 2 extra days that we didn't use for snow days, would I ask him if they could have the Monday, the 21st, the day after Easter off. So I sent him an email, copied them, and he Excuse me?
He brought it to the board.
Yep, he brought it to the board, he talked to whoever he had to talk to, and then he came back and it happened. So because they advocated for themselves, they got something that they wanted. So I'm really, really proud of them for doing that. So
Cool.
I think that's great.
Roll call on item 1, please.
Mazone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes.
Solakowski,
Yes.
Venkatesan,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Francisco,
Yes.
Giordano,
Yes.
Jodry,
Yes.
Dantuno.
Yes.
Resolution 1 for board secretary and board business passes.
So discussions on items 2 through 17, it looks like. So,
For 17, it is on there just to make note. Our June, I believe our regular meeting is
meeting,
the
yes.
day of middle school graduation. So we just want to pose to the board, at least set the table for discussion on a potential replacement date. We can potentially do the Tuesday before, which I believe is the 10th. But if you want to check your calendars, and then email me and the team, and then we can come to a potential agreement on a changed date, we can do that. So we just
So-
want to bring that attention. That is
which meeting are we moving, the 17th or the 24th?
there is no school on the 10th.
There's no school on the 10th for students and in-service day for staff, so we could still have we could have a meeting. I would suggest we make it that day, and then if you have problems with it, let Mr. Wydell know, and if there's no consensus for a problem, then we'll put it on the agenda for that next, on the 24th for voting.
Question. Are we able to just do one meeting that month? Like just do one, instead of doing the agenda session and a regular session, just doing one?
My concern about that is the end of the school year, it's a lot of renewals and so forth, especially as the budget becomes more clear. We're going to probably need that 2 meetings in
Okay.
June, because we don't have one in July.
Okay.
I have one question on item number 6. We designate Asbury Park Press, Neptune, etc. as the official publication newspapers. Why not all around Woolbridge? Have we spoken to them, or is something not working out? Because I
So
do see
That's
all
great.
around Woolbridge newspapers like to every home.
Yeah, so you need state provided, the ones that are disseminated throughout the state that are available. So
Okay.
these are our official records. When we have legal notices and bid openings, we have to put it in a widely distributed. And now, actually, it's getting more and more difficult, and there's some pending legislation out there with doing online advertising as well. So for right now, these are our official things that are, because they're statewide run papers.
Okay.
But we will probably see some changes coming up because of the digital advertising coming
Yeah,
up. So.
especially
Yeah.
all around Woolbridge does physical papers,
Yeah,
newspapers
but all
to
around
every home.
Old doesn't go to all of Old Bridge. Like in Lawrence Harbor, I can't get it.
Oh, you
I
don't
ha-
get it? Okay.
Plus, it's not done daily. So if we were to advertise a meeting, it would have to
Oh,
come
it has to
out.
be on the daily. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
monthly. All around Woolbridge is monthly. Okay, sorry, I didn't know about that. Okay, thank you.
I wanted to try and open some of the discussion around the calendars, because I think we're all struggling with this one. So just trying to have conversation.
And I will say, it's like every 7 years. This is the most difficult calendar. Again, it's not for next year, it's for 2026, 2027. But I think it's happened 3 times since I've been superintendent that this comes up because 2 things happen. It's like an eclipse. You have Passover and Easter separated by a month, and you have a late Labor Day. Both of those are difficult when putting together a 180-day calendar within 10 months because it creates so much time there, which, just starting late, it would be a problem starting after Labor Day. And trust me, I love summer. I love starting after Labor Day. But it just makes it very difficult if you start after Labor Day to get in your 180 days and then have the holidays and so forth in there. So, again, probably the most difficult calendar as a board you will have to adopt is the 26, 27. Then, if you're not on the board 7 years from now, you'll be fine.
I'm missing my last page. Can I borrow yours a second?
Sure can.
So, if I go by the popular opinion from what I've seen and people that have messaged me, staff, kids, they need that break of the spring break off. But as a board member, I felt like last year we told the Muslim community, the Indian community, like we'd look at Diwali and Eid and Lunar New Year for the Asian community. I feel like we kind of owe that to them this year. So I'm curious on what other board members
Jen,
think.
also, I looked at the demographic report that we got, and 16% of our students perhaps celebrate Diwali and Eid. So I think even if every single student in our school system celebrated and wanted that calendar, it still wouldn't be a majority. So I think that we have to actually weight that to make sure that they're equally represented, even though it's only 16% of our school system.
I'm confused which way you're leaning towards with that comment.
Because I'm saying that if you're looking for a majority, you're never going to get.
No, you're not. And
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
So since it's 16%, we have to weight that accordingly and make sure that
Exactly,
it
yeah,
carries the
and that's
proper
what-
weight within the full number.
And that's kind of
Right.
where my feeling was. Like, the popular vote will always be what people are used to or what the majority is. But I feel last year we said, oh, well, they were going to have half days for the 25-26 calendar, and we would relook at it and revisit it for the 26-27 calendar. And so here we're presented with that option. I feel, we made a promise last year, which not every board member was on here last year.
No, I appreciate these comments, right? Because after we published this, people started pouring into me personally, reaching out to me and online. Definitely people prefer the red, which has giving specific full day holidays for Eid. And the Diwali, Mr. Sidri, we spoke already falling on a weekend, so that's okay. Maybe the following year we can get into the practice. And as naturally you see, there is a lot of population moving in, diverse population moving in. So I appreciate the comments here. I think that's something even I will vote for. And that's what people are looking for. And this will help to have more inclusivity within the school system, in the classes. Like I think some of the public spoke in the past that people of this community want to get other friends and kids and families over to their places as well. Just like how we all celebrate Christmas, we equally bring in different culture people to our homes to celebrate all of the other festivities. So this will be a good change for the community.
And
Thank
maybe
you.
we won't have snow next year, and we can add the snow days back into one of the longer weekends.
I
if
think that's something which we all have to pray
or
for.
I guess in 2 years. We can have snow next year. I guess it's 2 years. So curious what
Um,
other board members are thinking?
Yeah, so, yes, as I agree with, celebrating the Eids and Diwali, I also feel like, and I could just speak for some of the elementary school teachers that I have spoken to, they look forward to that
Absolutely.
Easter, that break,
They
only
need that mental
because.
break, absolutely.
Right, but for both, for staff and for the kids. From some of the teachers that I have spoke to, right now, the kids in the afternoon are antsy, and they can't sit still. So I think taking away that week altogether and just giving like a day, a Friday and a Monday, I don't think that's really gonna help. I would like to see an option where we can still have Eid, even, I know nobody wants to hear it, but if the school year has to go a couple of days later, and then if we can incorporate those snow days, which would then bring us early again, if we don't get snow. But I don't think taking away that week altogether is a good idea for both staff and students. So I would like to see if we can come up with maybe some kind of option where we can work it out where we don't have to take away that spring break week. And still be able to celebrate, the Eids and Diwali. So I don't know how to
I think
propose
that's
that,
the
but
graduation rate. So another consideration for the public to know is graduation at PNC is Monday or Tuesday. So if like say we're going with the red calendar and we add the few days on, now graduation's not going to be till the 28th or 29th of June, which can be hot. So, it's a lot. Any other board members?
Yes, I have more of a legal question because we have to have instructional days 182, and per the email we got, she said they celebrate early. So instead of doing an early dismissal, could you do a delayed opening, or do the same
I
schedule
would
but
think people would
reversed?
travel for family.
But I'm just saying, would that be an option?
I mean, I didn't get from the letter that person wrote that they just celebrate in the morning. Just the festivities start in the morning and just carry on through the day. So I don't know if having a delayed opening for allowing people to celebrate
Because high school,
Eid
that's
or
what, 9 o'clock?
Diwali early in the day would solve the problem. Right, but on our contract, we have 181 instructional days, and then there's 3 professional development days.
Right, so, public, I guess, keep reaching out to us over the next week and a half. I think this is a very hard calendar to look at and figure out, so.
When is the absolute latest this has to be approved? Like, I know this is for 26, 27, so when is like the,
It doesn't have to be approved next month. If you're looking for more information, it doesn't have to be approved this month. The parents, from the feedback we received, I guess parents do more online booking of vacations and so forth, and online programs for their students and their children who are like, in musical program and camps and athletic camps. So those kind of programs, I know from my own son, they want you to register a year in advance, so they're kind of like looking for more notice as possible.
Mhm.
So it's become the norm for districts to put calendars out 2 years in advance now. But you don't have to, we don't have to adopt it in April. We can revisit it in May. I would just like to have parents know before they leave for June or July, have the calendar adopted.
okay.
Any other
Actually,
conversation?
why for like the red, it's so spotty on spring break? For just,
Because Easter and Passover are separate, so it's 2 long weekends, one for Easter and
so
one
we
for
got, they're
Passover.
getting, oh,
So,
that's a tough one, yeah. Because most of the feedback was for purple, obviously for those breaks, but like Christina said, if we can somehow incorporate both, that's gonna be
The
tough.
hard part, okay, so if you did like an elongated spring holiday, which one is it? And, that becomes, so you do 1 week for, let's say you do 1 week around the Easter holiday, and then you do 2 days around Passover, and you're getting out on like the 28th or 29th. The law requires the high school can't graduate before the last day of school. You can't have the last day of school prior to, after graduation. Plus, we bus our students to the facility to ensure that they arrive safely and orderly. So we need our transportation system, and we can't do that on a school day. So some school districts do it on the last day. They actually have high school graduation on the last day of school. We can't do that either. We could look at alternative venues, but the consensus from parents, it seems, is that PNC Art Center is nice. It's not far for parents who even have to use transportation like Uber or something else to get there because they don't have a family car. We could look at other venues, but they can tend to require traveling a lot more and become a little more costly. But then any large venue, they get more like demand on the weekends. REO Speedwagon comes to town, you got to make room for them. Mr. Yanzelli kind of remembers REO Speedwagon.
Any other discussion on this? Okay. And then,
So we're gonna hold off until May to vote up for on the calendar then?
well,
Is that what we came up with?
you can make the motion to, right now it's set to vote in 2 weeks.
Yeah, can I make the motion to push it back just so maybe I could reach out to whoever is in charge of doing it, just to see if I could, even if I have to work with them, just to try to come up with another option to, I don't know.
Madam President, I'll second Ms. Mazzone's motion.
Any other discussion on the motion? Right.
Do
Roll
we
call?
need a third, Chris?
Roll call?
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me just go to that section. We will go in the order of the board secretary, board business. So we have Mazzone,
Yes.
Slade,
Yes,
Yes.
Venkatason,
Yes, in the interest of figuring out to get a good spring break, definitely along with the Eid holidays. So yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Francisco,
Yes.
Giordano,
Yes.
Joldry,
Yes.
and Dantuno.
Yes.
All right. Resolution to push back the calendar voting until May passes.
So just for clarification, are you requesting that we send it back to instructional council? Instructional council is where the calendar
Yeah.
comes out of because it has representation from the different groups within the district, and have that, they meet once a month. Although,
Can we
I'm just
call like,
thinking if they meet in May because
I was gonna
that's
say, could
teacher of the
there be
year.
like a special meeting?
Well, we could, I think they meet, the regular agenda meeting, so we could put it on their task list for that meeting to go back and review, an option that includes
Everything.
the full week, and what day we would get out and present that option.
I think that's what we did last year. We had kind of gone back to the drawing board
Mm-hmm.
to try to find something that fit everybody's needs, so can't hurt.
Hearing of residents on any district item.
Andrew Lewis, I wasn't planning on speaking again, but just as someone on instructional council, want to give you a little insight into the calendar. And I don't know, when we meet, we have a PowerPoint that kind of lays out how many days and when we're off and all those things. I don't know if that's been shared with the board, but I can ask Mrs. O'Neill to share that if it hasn't. Just one other thing to note about it, including all the holidays in, what is this, 26, 27, Rosh Hashanah, which we typically would be off for, falls on a weekend. So if we incorporate the holidays, it's tend to be something that we'll do moving forward. So it could, in a year where all the holidays are on weekdays, push the end of the year back by another 2 or 3 days. So again, as you mentioned, it'll push graduation back to the end of June. A lot of our elementary classrooms aren't air conditioned. So in that case, then we might be looking at early dismissal days for that last week, depending on the temperature. So just things to keep in mind as we look back at it. Thanks.
Anyone else on any other school item?
I do. I just wanted to mention that
Hold on, I just want to close the,
Yeah, let's close the mic and then.
close the public portion. Okay. So does the board have any old business?
I do.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention, it's kind of old business because SEPTA is having their meeting on the 17th of April, and now it's been pushed to May 15th. It's going to be on guardianship. It's going to be in person at Glen School at 6:30.
I want to talk about something that I felt we are really, should be proud about. Thanks to Lynn and the principal at our middle school, Jonas Salk Middle School. Me and my family visited them to watch the musical show Legally Blonde, and I was awestruck, literally, right? I'm not sure other board members got a chance to, visit, but I was awestruck. My kids were awestruck. Tremendous amount of talent, with the kids and the staff, importantly, right? The amount of effort they have put in starting from January, and really, at the end of the show, and that was the final day I was there, and it was bringing tears really, because you could really see these small kids, performing at the capability of a Broadway, right? They're really top performers, I should say. So I want to take probably, like 30 seconds to really call out their names, to feel them, recognized for the achievement, that they've, brought. So the director of the show was Nicole Barrow White, assistant director Kathleen Kelly, choreographed by Amaya White, Liana Britton Ines, Christina Barrow, scenery design Kathleen Kelly, Nairi Atinian. Apologies if I am mispronouncing the names. I'm trying my best. Assistant scenery design Karen Langan, set construction Joe Kelly, Kathleen Kelly, stage crew manager Kathleen Kelly, costume design Kathy Frignac, AV supervisor Nick Andiashi, production assistant Lauren Seats, student production assistant Eva Marchetta, program cover design Jade Resquin, program construction Stephanie Fellman, house manager Lynn Azrick, and the list goes on, right? But these were also important people who are the production staff who literally are behind the scenes. So that's why I wanted to call their names out first, because literally most of the times we go with the superheroes first, but these are the background superheroes who really made that event happen. And now for the cast themselves, Nayalis Tejada, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing again, she's one of the top performers. She was performing Ellie Wood's character there. And then we had Jaden Blammer, who performed the Warner Huntington 3 role, and Jordan Whitehurst performing the Emmett Forrest role. And then, the list goes on again. Kylie Eel, Owen Moore, Mara Ferrante, Manny Gonzalez, Megan Walters, Christian Mendoza, Derek Crazy, and quite a few others. So I just want to take a moment and really thank the staff and the kids for this top performance. And the chief choreographer or the director, she is leaving or retiring this year as well. So that again is another moment of kind of silence, but the students are so motivated, the rest of the staff are so motivated. So it's very happy to see them do this. I'm not sure if there are any other competitions around in the state where we can go and compete. Maybe that's something to look at, Mr. Sirardino, because there's a lot of great talent here. And one of the sentences that the chief, choreographer or the director made was, this is not only about art and music. Art and music are most critical for your academics as well, because you start thinking creative. So that's a key element, right? We need to encourage talent, such talent. It's not only about SAT scores, math scores, or science scores, but you do need to have these other talent to complement, your academic talents as well. Thank you.
And there was a special guest for Legally Blonde that didn't get to make the curtain call, at least the show that we saw. Daisy was awesome. I'll echo, I took my daughters to see the high school play, Sandburg and Salk. High school, my kids ended up listening to Broadway music the whole way home. Seussical at Sandburg, I ended up being an earworm and in my head all weekend afterwards. And then Legally Blonde, again, was awesome. So great job by all the performers. Thank you to the staff that helped with all of that. I did want to let the public know that on March 26th, I went and spoke to the State Senate Budget Committee. Mr. Cittadino did the assembly the day before. I got some comments, people wish they would have known, believe me, although it would have been nice to have company. They ran over an hour late, at least at the Senate one. We sat there all day for the 3 minutes to speak. But I did speak for 3 minutes, spoke how awesome Old Bridge was, and all that we had to lose if, we're stuck with this $18 million or $17 million in cuts. So just letting the public know Old Bridge is going, any chance we can to try and speak up. There wasn't room for a whole crowd to go. I pretty much had a chair, so if anyone would have come with me, there would have been standing room. But a few school districts did speak up, saying why the money is needed. So just wanted to let the public know that we are still advocating. Any other board member with old or new business?
Good luck to indoor percussion in Dayton.
Yes. Indoor percussion is leaving tomorrow for Dayton. They are coming back Sunday evening, so if anyone is around, I said I was going to go, and then I forgot that I was leaving on college visits, so I won't be there Sunday evening. I know somewhere on Facebook it'll say, is it usually around 9 o'clock they come back to like the grade 9 center? They're going to have the fire trucks and stuff like that, try and gear them in. So if you're hanging around looking for something to do, clapping them back is a great, they like it, the families like the support, so look out for that on social media. Anything else from board members? Go ahead.
And thank you, Mr. Venkatasan, for bringing that up. This is one of my closing comments. Over the course of the past few weeks, I've been to shows at the high school, 42nd Street, Seussical at Sandburg, at Salk. Obviously, I had to be there all 3 nights because Daisy doesn't drive, and she was in the show all 3 nights.
Did she get a limo?
No, but you saw Saturday night. They made a fatal flaw on Saturday night. Kathy Kelly gave her treats to thank her for being in the show, and all she thought about was those treats when she was on stage and trying to get back to them. So I personally did not bring any treats for her for Thursday and Friday night because I knew that's what she would focus on. So she tried to pull her cast member off stage to go to the treats. So that was something. But I digress. And, you know, this is like one of my favorite times of year where the spring sports are out there on Gike and going over there. And that's what the important part of our education system is, right? It's not about just, you know, what goes on just in the classroom, because our students don't come here for just what's in the classroom. They come here for the arts. They come here for the athletics. They come here for the social and emotional supports they get and the many activities. And that's what a thorough and efficient education is. It's not just a grade, because when you go out into the workplace, and I've said this hundreds of times, no one's going to say, you know, what was your grade in geometry? They're going to ask you more, what kind of person you were, what kind of person you are, and who did you last help? And those are the things, and, you know, what kind of leader are you? And those are the kind of skills you get from being in a comprehensive school that offers so much. And that's what the state doesn't understand, is that's what we stand to lose when you start making cuts, because only the core things become important, and they're no more important than what shapes us as human beings and what makes our students so marketable beyond here. You know, think of that. Right now we have students in Germany. Not a lot of districts do that. And it doesn't cost the district anything to have our students in Germany, other than transportation. We do provide transportation and any substitute coverage for any chaperones that are there that need coverage. But that's it. Imagine, you know, the global view that our students get from being in another country, learning from students in another country, getting that experience. And for some of the students who are on the trip, this may be their first time out of the country. And it offers perspective and where they are and where they have opportunities in the world that they may not even think about. So these are all why we do what we do and why this board is here. So congratulations to everyone who makes these things possible. And this is what makes Old Bridge proud. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to go into executive session?
Ms. Zoma, motion.
Francisco will second.
So we will keep the room abreast if, you know, within a half hour, if we're going to come back quickly. If we think it's going to be a longer conversation, we'll let you know so we don't waste everyone's evening. Thank you. Roll call. Roll call in favor of going into executive.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 We're going into exec.
All right. All right, so, do we have to make new motions for this?
No,
Or Okay, so,
we're returning to finance item number 3, which was delayed.
okay. So does someone
And
else?
I believe Mr. Wydell will have, we'll get a separate motion because we pulled it off of the regular action agenda for finance, and Mr. Wydell will read it into the record because there are blanks that are filled in what you will actually vote on.
So then do you need motions?
Yes, you need a motion, but
You
let
want
David,
me to
let
read
David
first?
read the motion, the
Okay.
resolution first.
Okay.
Okay. So for finance, the revised finance number 3, which we now make it a revised number 3, is that correct, or number 4?
It's actually revised number 2 because number 2 disappeared in this.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. The motion reads as such. Move the Board of Education approve the following resolution. Application submission dash additional expenditures and tax levy incentive aid. Whereas in the proposed fiscal year 2026 state budget, certain districts have the opportunity to apply to the Commission of Education to increase expenditures, including an allocation of tax levy incentive aid in order to satisfy the thoroughness and efficient standards established pursuant to NJSA 18A:7F-46. Whereas the Old Bridge Township Public School District is below local fair share and spending below adequacy to be eligible to participate in this program. Whereas the Old Bridge Township Public School District is eligible to increase expenditures by $30,444,449 and qualify for tax levy incentive aid in the amount of $1 million. Whereas the Old Bridge Township Public School District is requesting the approval to increase expenditures based on the following reasons. If not obtained, would have a debilitating impact on the district's ability to provide staffing, facilities, and programs sufficient to offer a thorough and efficient education to its students. Therefore, the Old Bridge Township Board of Education is approving the submission of this application to the Commissioner of Education.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
Dunn will make a motion, Madam President, to approve item number 3 under finance.
A second?
Giordano, second.
Thank you.
Really
Mr.
quick,
Dunn, you mean number 2 under finance?
Oh, yes,
2.
number 2.
Mr. Wydell, before we vote on it, can you just explain to the public that we're not actually voting for a tax increase up to that much? Can you just explain what we're voting on right now?
Correct. The tax levy incentive aid is just a mechanism. It is a part of language provision in the proposed 26 budget for the state that a district who is below spending adequacy has the opportunity to apply to increase expenditures up to the amount they are below adequacy. So the district is spending below adequacy of $30,444,449. What this application does, this resolution does, allows us to just submit for an application to give us the chance to vote and increase expenditures. We are going to meet as a board to discuss what potential programs would be included in this, but essentially this is just a mechanism for us to be able to increase our levy to apply for additional expenditures and get a tax levy incentive aid from the state. Is everyone okay with that explanation, or do you want more? Do you have any follow-up questions?
So one of the things that took me a little bit to get caught up on is the spending below adequacy, because I thought that meant like us as a district. So that means, to the state, that means that the taxpayers aren't paying what the state feels they should be in property taxes. It's like, it's not the school district that's spending below adequacy, it's the community is not spending what the state feels is the adequate fair share of their income on the public school system. So I wanted to help with that explanation.
Right, and we've been to Trenton to try to ask them to be transparent with the formula, and they're not providing us the info, and tell me if I have this right, they're not providing us with the actual formula as to how they reach that conclusion, but the state says that the township, not being reassessed since 1984, is not paying their fair share, so that's why we're $30 million under adequacy, and that results in reduced budget to the township schools.
I also think it's important to note that we aren't the only town in this situation, that there are other towns across the state that are in the same boat as us when it comes to the lack of money that we're receiving from the state. So I think it's important to note that this is not an Old Bridge specific problem. This is happening all across the state.
And when we went to Trenton, those other districts were there as well, trying to advocate for the same thing we were, trying to advocate for transparency in the formula, so we would at least know how they arrived at the formula and how they arrived at the dollar amount that Old Bridge residents were not paying what they consider their fair share in taxes.
Madam President, unfortunately, we're in this position not based upon this board's actions or previous board's actions. We're in this position because of Trenton and politics, and it's unfortunate that this school district under S2 suffered so much, and this board is trying to find an avenue where we're going to preserve our programs, preserve our school district, keep it in its entirety. And if we can't do that, then our home values and our township is going to be different. So, it's a very hard decision, and I just want to make sure everyone understands that this board and previous boards have not put us in this position. This is a state issue, and my colleagues here, along with the administration, have done everything to petition and speak their minds and try to advocate for us. And obviously, it's still going to deaf ears. And now the state has given us this avenue to put more of the onus back onto the taxpayer. And it's a very difficult situation. The plight is not appropriate, and that we have to make some hard decisions. But this board is unified in finding the common ground that's going to be able to preserve our schools, preserve our educational system here in Old Bridge, and ensure our home values stay where they're at. And I want to thank everyone on this board for making the hard decisions right now to even consider these options. And I can tell you, speaking to my colleagues here a few minutes ago, we're all unified to find the common ground that's going to preserve our school district in its entirety. So I want to thank everyone here for making the hard decisions and just giving it the consideration that it needs.
Just so everyone is aware, prior to when this application or information about the application first came out, there was a preliminary list that was sent to BAs. It was the preliminary eligible list for pre-budget year levy, below the local fair share, and spending below adequacy. In Middlesex County, there is only 2 districts that are not eligible to apply for this. One is Cranberry Township, and the other is Milltown Borough. So, of all the counties, everyone has the opportunity to apply for this. Now, I think we very well know, we have been hit harder than any district in this county as far as S2 throughout it. So, districts that we may have seen get additional aid and flourish during the S2 when we're getting cut, they have the opportunity still, because they may be below adequacy, to apply for this. They may not choose to do so because they feel they have the funds and necessary to go, but we are in a position where, again, we had such a budget crisis, and there is now this mechanism to be able to do it. It is a tough decision, but I just want to know it is you'll start seeing articles throughout the entire state that people are looking to do this to chip away at that below adequacy number and get as close, because the problem has been the 2% cap on the tax levy. Expenditures are increasing way beyond what 2% of revenue can bring in. So just to provide some clarity on that, again, only 2 districts in Middlesex County were not eligible to apply for. So all the big ones that, again, haven't had the budget issues that we have still have the opportunity to apply for this, and we'll see what they do. But again, our focus is here and making sure that we make this district the best district we can moving forward.
And Dave, just to elevate the urgency, can you just give us the deadline that this has to be in by publicly?
So the deadline to get this application in, so is April 14th. I believe that's Monday, right? Our Monday is spring break. So I will be working on it from now until the Monday of spring break, there's a couple components. One was a required resolution, which upon potential approval we would have. And then there are some other documents, some historical data that needs to be provided, and then a breakdown of expenditures that would potentially be covered in such an increase. But there is just three components. It is will be reviewed by the DOE, and we will move along from there.
Dave, I just want to, just so the public knows too, when did you first get a concrete picture of this application process, approximately?
Okay, let me see. Hold on one second. Let me check my calendar for a second. So we met with our county superintendent on the 26th of March here, and at that point in time, a potential of a loan was still on the table. We hadn't heard any otherwise. We got information on the 28th of March, I believe Friday at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I worked on calculations all that weekend, and then a lot of districts communicated with me and started kind of scrambling because there was a deadline due. So the first week of April is when people really realized the magnitude of this. There's a deadline of April 14th due, and the real reality of the situation is some districts don't have 2 meetings a month like we do. They have maybe 1 meeting a month that's typically at the end of the month and after spring break. Well, after spring break would mean that their meeting is past the 14th. So districts were scrambling to either set finance committee meetings or special board meetings this week to be able to get this resolution in by. So again, the information came fast and furious.
Yes. Right.
I have calculations that were done, and we're still really waiting for more information, and we really didn't get as much guidance as we did in other programs like we have in the past.
So I just want the public to be aware of that. So we met with the county superintendent on the 26th. This wasn't even a concept introduced to us on the 26th. I had heard some rumblings and talking to some of my superintendents that I work with who were in other S2 districts that something was coming, but there was no picture of it. The 28th at dismissal, something comes out, and you have to make a decision a week and a half later by the 14th to provide a resolution on a $30 million decision. And that's how we have been forced to operate as administration and a Board of Education, that these last minute things come out when you're working on a $190 million budget on operating a business, a $190 million business. You get these last minute, directives or opportunities or whatever it is that, and it always comes with 2 weeks. You have 2 weeks to decide how you're going to spend, or if you're going to spend $30 million or not. Just it's unfathomable, and it's unfortunate that's the way schools and districts have been forced to operate since S2.
And just to clarify a little more, about a month ago, I think Mr. Vidal made it public here, we are under a deficit of 18 million. And since then, the first option put forth was let's go and ask for a loan, and that loan has been denied. And further, we get this last minute option from the state to apply for an additional tax incentive aid. And with this, what really it means is we can go all the way up to the under adequacy amount, which is 30 million. But with the 5.27% increase planned, prior, we are about 18 million under deficit right now. So we do have an option here to ask or apply to the amounts that we need. It is not like we have to apply for the full 30 million, which is really under adequacy. We do have the options. We can apply just for a couple million or 10 million or 15 million. So as a board here, we need to also look at the options, because ultimately asking for an option is one thing, but not using is another thing. But what do we really need, right? We do need to have some consciousness in minds that, yes, there is an option to open the floodgates. Yes, you can open up to 30 million. But consciously, just last year, we increased the taxes for the people. And this year, again, I know it's not the problem of us here or even the people. It is a problem with the state and the funding formula, like, Jen and Marjorie explained. But the point here is we need to be really conscious about all aspects of it. Yes, students' education, At the same time, taxpayers and seniors and everybody else living in the town going to get impacted. Yes, the home values can get impacted, whichever direction we take. So it's a very difficult decision here in the board. Like Mr. Dunn also explained, it's a very challenging situation. So what I want to make sure is we should really work on how do we solve this problem realistically, either for now or even for the later. Yes, one option is to open the floodgates, go and increase the taxes. But again, in another year or probably in another year, we are going to be in the same trouble. And we don't know what Trenton or the administrators are going to do, change in the government going to come. We don't know. So let's be realistic here, right? Over the period of the last 8 years of S2 ITS, right? Yes, the administration and everyone has worked together to mitigate it. But every time we mitigate it, it's more of, if for the next budget year, what is the band-aid we can put? Right? We have not been really realistic to make some harsh decisions. When I say harsh decisions, it is not about, again, closing another school, but rather, holistically look at the utilization, right? How many programs are utilized at what percentage? And what other districts are doing, in the same cases where how they are surviving or sustaining. So what is our sustainable model for the next few years to come, right? I don't think we have that sustainable model in place. So my request here is, and that's exactly what we discussed in the executive session, is we need to come together as a united front, like Mr. Sirat, requested. We all board members need to come together and look at that sustainable model. What is that sustainable model? Be very realistic about it, right? I don't think we have that done, and that's a lot of homework to do, and it involves a lot of time from each of the board members, honestly, and the administration as well. So that is something which is on works. While this application is only to open up that floodgate and an option, and it's an extreme option, honestly, because if we keep having these options, we are never going to get and fix the right problem, right, on the right way, rather, right, the problem in the right way, right? So while this is a very important decision, because yes, when things go south more and more, this is one of the options to resurrect and sustain and manage the situation, but this is not the only option. This is just an application. But by all means, we need to be judicious in calling out what amounts are we going to even ask for. Yes, somebody is giving, here is my 30 million, go and increase the taxes. But that doesn't mean we need to really raise it up to that bar. So I request the board members, fellow board members, and Mr. Vidal, we need to agree upon what is that increase amount going to look like, and then, vote on it. At the same time, like we discussed, we need to really get into the weeds of things, look at the various parameters of this educational structure of academics, sports, and extracurricular activities, or arts and music, and look at what are the must-haves, what are the nice-to-haves, and then, make some conscious decisions and be realistic to the public, is what I want to share. Thank you.
Any other board members? Roll call,
Yeah,
please.
oops, sorry, no, I had something. Yeah, so I'd also, of course, like to join the bandwagon of how inefficient the state is. As we've seen, they got the loan process passed quickly, and then they took it away. They did this tax levy incentive aid, and they're giving us 2 weeks, but yet they can't figure out a funding formula over a course of many years. So people have to be more mad at the state. I've been saying that for years, practically, and people have to be more active. There's no one here right now because it's not the final budget, but I don't want it to be everyone coming just for the budget hearing. People have to be more involved in the next weeks, and we only have a month, so people have to get involved. So, yep. Thank you. That's it.
Any other board comment? Roll call, please, Mr. Widow.
We have roll call for finance, revised item number 2. We had a motion by Dunn, seconded by Giordano. Roll call will be Jodry,
Yes.
Mazzone,
No.
Slade,
Yes.
Solokowski,
Yes.
Venkatesan.
Did we say what is the amount we are going to ask?
The full
It-
30.
Application for 30, that's what. If it is for 30, no.
Dunn,
Yes.
Francisco,
No.
Giordano,
Yes.
D'Antuno.
Yes.
Resolution 2 passes.
Motion to adjourn?
Ms. Owen, motion?
Joe second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I hope everyone has a great spring break.
What was it? 9 2022 Mazzone.